Hello, fellow Beast Wars fans. This is Andy, recording in December of 2024. We here at the podcast have just learned that Gary Chalk, the incredibly talented voice actor of Optimus Primal and so many other characters, is currently battling stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Fortunately, as we understand, he is receiving treatment, but we wanted to share this with the Beast Wars community. Our thoughts are with him, and we wish him and his family a good and healthy new year. So we were talking about Beast Wars as a podcast about two comedians rewatching the 1990s TV series Beast Wars Transformers. Although we are discussing a children's television show, the podcast itself is not intended for children.
Hey, Andy, I know we usually start off the pod with something light or funny, but I actually have some pretty heavy news to relate to you.
Oh man, what's up?
Do you remember Paul Johnson?
Yeah. Somebody you were friends with back in high school?
Oh, yeah, he and I were really close. He was the first person who ever told me that I was funny.
Oh.
I owe a lot to that guy. He helped me work on some of my first comedy bits, and in some ways, I consider him the only reason I was able to make it through high school. He passed away.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. I never told you this, but I always thought that he was like a real hack who stole all of my jokes.
What?
He was like a terrible hack who stole all my jokes. And I mean, I get that he like mattered to you or whatever, but honestly, I'm kind of glad he's dead.
Wow. Okay. I thought our general policy was not to speak ill of the dead, especially somebody who
Oh, no, Phil. What's the matter, Phil? Oh, why are you crying?
this offends me on multiple levels. Well, his funeral's this Saturday. Do you want to go?
Yes. So I can piss on his grave! I'm sorry, that was callous. So that I may piss on his, how do you say, grave? So we were talking about Beast Wars.
We were talking about Beast Wars. I'm Phil Thomas.
I'm Andy Hunter. Thank you for joining us. Today we are talking about Beast Wars Season 1, Episode 12, Victory. With the Predacons apparently dead due to infighting, the Maximals adjust to having won the Beast Wars and get ready to finally go back home, which causes Dinobot some inner conflict.
Oh yeah, this is a narratively maximal dick tease episode, just like one a couple of episodes earlier.
Like the probe, which is just last episode, where you're like, oh, looks like they'll get home, and then, nope, never mind.
Exactly.
It did occur to me that, interesting that they would have two episodes back to back that were like, oh, they're gonna get home. But then I thought of how, unlike in The Probe, with this episode, halfway through, we learn that no, the Predacons aren't dead, and it's a trick. They don't like make you wait the whole episode to find out that something bad is gonna happen. They kind of set it up more the premise of the episode that something will happen. And in this case, were it not for the Predacons plan, the Maximals wouldn't have even thought that they were going home anyway because they needed the Predacon ship parts to fix the Axelon.
Those are really good points. So they're not the same episode, but there is a moment where, the ship's in the air, they're headed home. It seems like the Predacons are vanquished. That was a pretty cool moment for me. I'm sure we'll get into it later. And then Predacon's gonna Predacon.
Yeah, I definitely have made some notes on how all that went down. But let's start from the beginning. The Maximals are spying on the Predacons. They say that they have a spy camera that they hardwired in the Predacon base, and Rattrap says that he did it. But did he sneak back into the Predacon base and do this, I wonder? Or is this something that he did off screen in the episode Double Jeopardy? Or did he somehow just sneak up to the outside of it and like run one of those flexible tube cameras in through one of the many lava-filled cracks in their hull?
It's funny. I had the same thought. They're implying that he went on a separate mission to run it. But logistically, the only time he could have done it is if he somehow set everything up the last time he had snuck into their base.
Yeah, like honestly, the idea of a mission to infiltrate the Predacon base to set up a spy camera or to do anything else sounds like it could be an exciting episode on its own, as opposed to just a throwaway thing to get this episode started. Because I can assume there would have been a great debate among the Maximals, like, oh, we see that the Predacons are off on a mission. It's a perfect time to sneak into the base. And Dinobot's like, yes, and we will destroy it. And Optimus says, no, we're not going to set a bunch of bombs for the Predacons. Let's just implant a spy camera. You can imagine those conversations maybe having taken place.
Yeah, one of the reasons I can imagine those conversations taking place is because of how much this episode is a mirror to the episode where the Maximals discover that the Predacons are eavesdropping on them. So Optimus and Rat Trap fabricate a ploy to do this. And then, like, the parallel Megatron and Terrorsaur are now the ones to do this. And the Maximals don't see it coming at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Maximals are spying on the Predacons. They see the Predacons attempting to refine some energon, which it's funny, like we've talked about that plenty of times. And to me, it makes their battle over various mountains of energon up till now even more silly if they weren't even in a position to start refining it yet.
Yeah, and not only that, all you have to do is shoot a missile at any mountain in Beast Wars, and then boom, there you go, all the energon you want.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, it's funny they haven't even tried just like going outside, grabbing some dirt and smushing it down and turning that into energon.
When all else fails, there's just smushing it down.
Yep. But anyway, they are trying to refine some energon, but it does not work. And then the Predacons descent and attack Megatron, seemingly blowing up their stockpile of energon and killing them all. And I had a few thoughts about this. Like, if I'm the Maximals, I would think like, wait, are the Predacons always just a hair trigger away from uprising? You know, we know that Terrorsaur is, but Waspinator is kind of weak-willed, and Scorponok is super lockstep. I support Megatron. So that would have given me a little bit of a pause if I were the Maximals.
Yeah, that does go against type for a couple of them for sure.
Yeah. But then also, I found the explosion itself weird because it doesn't destroy the Predacon ship. And so I guess the explosion, or supposed explosion, was small enough that it didn't ignite that entire energon vein that connects the Predacon ship from the Maximal ship. But it's nonetheless strong enough that the Maximals feel it at their base. And so it made me wonder, like, well, wait a minute. Maybe their ships are only like a block away from each other? And that's why and that's why last episode in the probe, the closest place to set up their tower to contact the probe was in Predacon territory. Because Predacon territory is literally like 30 feet away from Maximal base.
Well, we suspect that they're on Horseshoe Bend, so that's how it could work, Andy. There's one part of the horseshoe, and then they run all the way around, come right back here, and then both ships are like on the other side of a fence.
Yeah, that works. We have no way of knowing if half of Horseshoe Bend used to be just a big lava spiral. Scientists don't have ways of discovering that kind of stuff.
No, let alone a field devoted to it.
Yeah. So the Maximals go to check out the Predacon base to see, is this all true? As they're outside, Rhinox once again has his Rhino wrist-mounted tool to be a scanning device. And it just made me think, damn, too bad he wasn't wearing that last episode when he got stuck in beast mode. He probably could have used that to still type in the stuff he needed for the probe.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, you would think he would learn that lesson and invent something to maybe opposably digitize something.
Yeah. Oh, well. We'll see. I did really like Optimus's solemn demeanor as he said, like, it looks like we've won the Beast Wars. And, and it wasn't the like, woohoo! It's tragic that this had to be resolved via death, So I like that. Optimus remains a solid dude.
Yeah, was not a cause for celebration per se. That having been said, Dinobot's skepticism is once again on point when he asks for proof, probably because he knows how duplicitous the Predacons are.
Yeah. I'll tell you what else is duplicitous.
Oh, what's duplicitous there, Apetimus?
Optimus's crocodile tears. I tell you, if it's me and my enemies are dead, I'm not going to be. Oh. I guess we've won. Too bad they died. I will say, all right, crack open those ice cold bananas. And then you might say, well, surely we need to go explore their base just to double check. And I'll say, well, yes, but not to double check. So I can piss on all of their corpses. Whoa, whoa, Apetimus,
Wow.
that is harsh. War is harsh, fool. Lest you forget, let them be called Beast Wars. They're not called the Beast Funds or the Beast. It'd be nice if we could figure out a non-violent way to resolve our differences.
Um, the Beast Convention? Yeah, it's not the Beast Convention or the Beast Treaty or the Beast Detente, is it?
Actually, I heard in Canada they called the show Beasties because they weren't allowed to use the term war. Will you two listen to yourselves?
We do quite often, believe it or not.
Yeah, as I edit these episodes. I didn't mean literally. I just mean you two sound pathetic. I just know in a robot apocalypse, well, obviously I'll be on the side of the robots because I am part robot, but I wouldn't want either of you on my team anyway. If you're just going to be, oh, I guess the robots are dead. It's too bad.
Well, Aphids, hold on. Don't write it off yet. Just listen to how cool this sounds. Do 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 boom boom do 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 do. Beast Detente do do do.
Where did I go wrong?
Wow, we've really bummed out Apetimus. You can't see him right here. Maybe when we get some other apes to run our social media, you'll be able to see a little bit of sad video of him, but he is really down in the dumps right now.
Oh, yeah, you can't hear it for copyright reasons, but the sad Charlie Brown Christmas music is playing as he walks away, just really disappointed in us.
Sorry, Apetimus. So we were talking about Beast Wars.
We were talking about Beast Wars or Beast Convention. The Maximals enter the Predacon ship to check things out, and Dinobot is subdued, despite Rat Trap deliberately antagonizing him. And we get more into why Dinobot is subdued. Skipping ahead a little bit, he talks about how Tarantulas stalked so many prey, and it's kind of tragic that it would end like this for him. One thing I thought was Dinobot has attempted to kill these Predacons many times. Is it just, do you think that he's now feeling in a way he didn't expect to feel were they to die? Or that this was like a pointless death for them? He would have been fine if they died in a noble battle to an enemy's hand, but fighting among themselves like idiots, that was a dumb way to die. Like, how did you read that?
That's a really good question. I wrote down in my notes, what exactly do we think Dinobot is feeling? Because I was really confused too. But I also take that as a sign of good and maybe even substantial writing in a children's show. So let me say for the record that I don't think it's a bad thing that we don't know how he's feeling. And it makes sense for him to be feeling a complex feeling. The way I took it was, what is your identity now? Now that you've won the Beast Wars in a way where you didn't vanquish your foes, you would think in vanquishing your foes, you would perhaps prove something about yourself or something you achieved, but you didn't achieve anything. It was just somehow circumstances eliminated them for you. And now you have some really lame decisions to make. You're going to go home and everybody else is going to be a victor and you're going to be a war criminal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. And Rat Trap does bring up that he didn't join them out of mutual belief in the maximal goal and thought process. It was more that the Predacons are your enemy, and I've now made them my enemy. So let's team up. So yeah, where does that leave Dinobot?
I will make one other point. I think this is the start of Dinobot's hardcore fatalism. I think we can see from this that he is a fatalist. He's not looking for the promised land or a brand new day. What the day to day warfare is, that's his jam. This is who he is. He's not looking for an end to it. He's just looking to fight.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Rat Trap has a couple of strange or funny nicknames for Optimus as they're exploring. At one point, he calls him Scrape Ape, which Apetimus, you feel like weighing in on that? Unlike when Ratchet called me Optimus Pinhead, Scrape Ape isn't so bad. I'm famous for getting out of scrapes. All right, cool. Rattrap does then later on say to Optimus it's not a good time for him to prove that he's a wimp chimp. Yeah, compared to me, he's a wimp chimp.
Oh, well, everybody's a wimp chimp compared to you.
You're damn right. Anyway, I'm still kind of ashamed of you two. I'm gonna drown my sorrows in bananas. Okay, yeah. We're here for you if you need to talk. You two being here for me is the problem.
Apetimus, don't you think you've had enough?
I can quit whenever I want.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Clearly. Clearly. That's what we get from you, control and restraint.
Oh, he's just passed out in a big banana split. Like we said, Rattrap points out, Dinobot did not join them out of loyalty, but just because it was prudent. So it does kind of make sense to wonder what Dinobot's goals are right now. On the other side of things, in guerrilla warfare, we talked about how that was Cheetor at his best, having a big heart and caring about his teammates. In this sequence, Cheetor is much more annoyingly childish. He surprises Dinobot with some of Tarantulus's spider legs, which, if I'm him, I'm assuming, I guess this is literally like part of his body that got blown off in the explosion. We know later on, oh, I guess that must be just a spare part or something. But it would be like if you and I went into a home of someone who was my enemy, you had a much more complicated relationship with, and I just like picked up a body part of theirs and started like shoving it in your face. You're like, oh, what's the matter, Phil? Ooh.
Yeah, that's a really interesting assumption about world building. We can just assume that they have spare body parts lying around. I don't know if that's a conclusion I jump to.
Well, I mean, they're able to repair themselves somehow. Like, I mean, Cheetor had a big hole blown through his chest, and they patched that up with something. So I assume they have some degree of spare parts. But maybe in this case, Tarantulas had to deliberately manufacture that leg, and it's not just something they always have lying around.
You know, that would be funny if Cheetor had indigestion or got constipated and he just switched out his gun. Oh, I ate something bad. All right, yeah. Who wants seconds?
Anytime his gun jams, it's because he hasn't been eating enough fiber.
Gun jammed. Oh, damn it, burrito night.
But also, even if I were a punk asshole like Cheetor's being in this moment, of all the Maximals, Dinobot would be the last on my list to fuck with. Especially seeing as how in A Better Mousetrap, when Rattrap messed with him via Sentinel, Dinobot flew off the handle and tried to murder him and Rhinox. You know what? Leave Dinobot alone would be my thought.
I guess where they were going with that was that if you're jubilant, you can do stuff like that if you're in the winning locker room of the Super Bowl and you pull a stunt like that. Everybody's just kind of like, oh, yeah, let's spray each other with champagne. And maybe just telegraphing that Dinobot is the complete opposite of that at this moment.
Yeah.
One point about this moment with Dinobot, he quotes Macbeth, alas, poor Tarantulas, I knew him, Cheetor.
Yeah.
He doesn't say a soul of infinite jest, but Dinobot quotes Shakespeare later when he's talking about the golden discs to be or not to be.
Yeah.
That is the question. I never realized he had quoted Shakespeare earlier, and I like how philosophical they make what is on paper a seemingly one-dimensional character. He's a soldier.
Yeah, he has an interiority that is a juxtaposition with what he often expresses to others.
Yeah.
But anyway, they loot what they need from the Predacon engine and are making plans to fix up their own. Do you think Rattrap is actually a ladies bot, or do you think he just fancies himself one because he says, oh, I can hear the dames crying for me?
I don't know if I ever thought this through. There's a fembot out there for everybody.
Yeah, fair enough. But then Dinobot shows up and retorts that perhaps it's actually the thought of him returning that is making them cry. Rattrap is happy to see that Dinobot is back to his old spirits and giving him zingers back. And Dinobot says he is happy again because he won't be seeing Rattrap again. He will be staying behind to conquer and rule, as he says. As far as they know, there are no other sapient life forms on the planet, so he would just be ruling over animals. Which I would think, if I were him, would not be that satisfying for me. but who knows? But then Optimus says that that will eventually lead to his destruction. So I guess Optimus is anticipating a future Planet of the Apes situation where the apes revolt against Dinobot.
He would know.
Yeah. And then it's very bittersweet to me that then Dinobot says, I salute my former Maximal commander and my former Maximal comrades. All right, I guess we were never friends, huh? We were just comrades, eh?
I remember when I watched this as a kid, I found this really confusing. I found the whole sequence confusing only because these are themes that are seldom discussed or portrayed in children's television. Like the remorse or the aftermath of winning and how winning is not necessarily a good thing for everybody.
Mm,
It was really quite fascinating. And of course, he says one of the most famous lines and what I consider to be one of the best lines ever said in Beast Wars. I think you mentioned this in a previous episode. Eventually can be a long time, Optimus Primal. That's fantastic.
yeah. And then as he walks away, despite Cheetor's earlier dickishness, Cheetor now sounds really sad. He's like, what? No, Dinobot. So I guess kind of showing that Cheetor was messing with him in the way that a little brother tries to push their older brother's buttons. That it's not actually out of any real malice. It's the safety net of, oh, well, of course, I love you and we'll always be together, right?
Yeah, and we're both going to kick it on Cybertron. He was screwing with him in the way that, if you were at a restaurant and somebody really hated having happy birthday sung to them, and then you secretly went to the manager and demanded that they sing happy birthday at that person,
Mm-hmm.
that would be infuriating hypothetically, but you don't actually mean any real malice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just trust that would that ever happen to me, I would handle it with maturity and grace.
Oh, yeah, we should assume that that is what you would do in this purely hypothetical situation at the Red Robin Diner.
Yes. There's definitely not a story hidden behind that. If we ever start a Patreon, we will exclusively record a recounting of that story for Patreon subscribers only.
Oh, yeah. Supporters get that story. Great job, Andy.
Yeah. But surprise, surprise, the Predacons are alive. They're hiding in a crevice, really not doing well with the cramped quarters. I found that funny. Waspinator apparently cuddles Tarantulas while he sleeps.
There was another thing that I found really funny when they're heightening the rhetoric between Tarantulas and Waspinator. Tarantula says something like, I'm gonna end you. And then Waspinator immediately says, I'd like to see her try. When he says that, I just fell out. It's just like he's trying to sound intimidating, but he says it in that Pee Wee Herman voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a really fun environment. Even though it's claustrophobia, I still did find that pretty funny.
Yeah. The Predacons had discovered the spy camera and faked their death so that the Maximals would repair their own ship, and then the Predacons would attack them while their guard is down, take the repaired ship, and then collect all the stasis pods and convert them to Predacons. I feel like there's still some dots that aren't fully connected for me. Now that they've got a repaired ship, it will be even easier to take control over it. Or is it just the idea that they'll assume, with the Predacons presumed dead, they won't ever have Sentinel turned on, I guess?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. Their defenses were down. The other angle that I thought was a major risk for them was that, if I were the Maximals and I go and I get that ship part, the warp drive or whatever, I would torch the rest of the place just in case. Let's burn this place to the ground. That would have been a major miscalculation on the Predacons' part, because if this gambit does not work out, you are fucked.
Yeah, for sure. Or even just one of the Maximals sneezes wrong. The entire Predacon ship sinks into the lava. Yeah, I guess Megatron was just really banking on Optimus being like, this is the Predacon's final resting place. We're not going to disturb it any more than we have to. But yes, a calculated risk for sure. And I guess for Megatron, it paid off. Or at least it didn't backfire by getting their own base destroyed. But anyway, Dinobot overhears their plan. Waspinator and Pterosaur chase after him, and I love how he just immediately drops a boulder on them.
Yeah.
Or I guess in front of them, because they show up again later on. Then we cut back to all the other Predacons have climbed out of the crevice. Still in their beast modes, though. And I found that very noteworthy because Scorponok, Tarantulas, and Black Arachnia are all arachnids and could climb up the wall. I'm really curious, how did T-Rex Megatron scale that vertical wall? Because he's not in robot mode until he gets up there. There was also later on in the episode, when the Maximals see Dinobot returning with all the Predacons in tow, there's also some funny robot mode, beast mode stuff going on there. Optimus is in robot mode as they're preparing to take off. But then they see Dinobot and he's suddenly in beast mode again, and he walks over to their elevator. And then he transforms into robot mode again. So, like, in the span of 10 seconds, he's been robot mode, beast mode, robot mode. And I have to assume there was maybe some kind of strange behind the scenes something going on there.
I don't remember this. During that exchange, somehow he ended up in beast mode?
Yeah, so he's in robot mode as they're preparing to take off.
Right.
And then they see Dinobot outside, and Optimus says, I'm going to get Dinobot. And at that point, he's suddenly in beast mode. Like, we don't see him transform into beast mode, but he just is in beast mode now. And he walks to the elevator.
Oh, Optimus is.
Yeah, and then he transforms back into robot mode. Like, well, why'd you transform into beast mode? Just to tell us you were going to go get Dinobot and then transform into robot mode again.
Okay, that was probably just some kind of error.
Yeah. But anyway, all the Predacons are now chasing Dinobot because they know he's going to warn the Maximals. Dinobot runs back to the Axelon rather than trying to call them. Maybe he already preemptively canceled his phone plan because, like, all right, nobody else is going to be on this planet, so I don't need a phone plan anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't want to pay for roaming if he doesn't have to.
Yeah. But before Dinobot shows up, Tigertron has arrived at the Maximal base because, of course, they're bringing him back to Cybertron with them. Again, they touch on how he's more comfortable with the wild. He says it's weird to be in an artificial structure. Raptor is like, yeah, you'll get used to it. I'm going to take you to this sweet little hole in the wall in Cybertron. And we haven't seen Rat Trap and Tigatron really interacting. So I made some assumptions about their relationship based on this scene, which is I'm assuming that they don't really have much of a relationship, but Rat Trap sees him as a mature person that he could be like the bad influence on. Like, oh yeah, I can make this guy my bro. Whereas, of course, obviously Cheetor, he could also corrupt, but I think he sees Cheetor as being still a kid and very young. So Tagatron's this pure soul I can corrupt and be a bad influence on.
Oh, really? I don't know if I took it that way. I think he was just like, Tigatron's cool. We've never got to kick it before. You're my boy. I'm going to take you to all the spots. We're going to live it up. You fought hard. We respect you. Let's enjoy the spoils of war.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense too.
I don't know if he's going to make Tigatron do like lines of coke when they get back to Cybertron or something like that.
Yeah, I was assuming it would be more like that he was basically going to take him to the Transformer equivalent of a strip joint.
They transform you. He's going to take him into the back room and transform. We can transform in some special ways back there.
When these robots transform, it's those cars that just like don't have a hood. It's just the exposed engine. Like that's what the bots transform into.
It's not beast mode, it's birthday mode.
Oh yeah. Yes. So Dinobot shows up with the Predacons in tow, but Rhinox can't shut down the takeoff sequence because the ship is so damaged. And I couldn't tell, did that mean like they'd never get the engine to turn back on if they turned it off now? Or does he think that turning the engine off would literally break the ship apart?
I don't know. I found this sequence really annoying. I mean, this was just a really annoying MacGuffin. Listen, they're robots in an intergalactic time-traveling spaceship. It's not like you're trying to start a manual shift car, like all those times, like when my motorcycle, I had to pop the clutch or something, so I had to get it on an incline. Is that how the Axelon works? Once we get it started, I can't stop it.
Yeah, Optimus is like, all right, Cheetor and Rat Trap, get out and push. And then when we get up to speed, you can jump back in.
We're going to need a Pterosaur and Waspinator to push outside. That's why they can't go back to Cybertron without the Predacons.
Yeah. Yeah, so that very much stood out as a plot device. Also, it occurs to me, when do you think the Predacons were planning to attack? Because it seems like the only reason they show up now is because they're chasing after Dinobot. So is it possible that in another version of events, they waited another week and then show up and just the Axelon is gone and like, oh darn.
That's a good point. It's not like they smuggled a TV into the cave with them so they could be watching the whole time to see the right moment. It just seems like Tarantulas would have went out one day and was just like, guys, they left.
Yeah. They were Predacon for themselves. Maybe things would have worked out better for the other Maximals if Dinobot hadn't discovered them then. Although I guess in that case, then he would have at some point encountered the Predacons and been killed by them, maybe.
That makes sense. He probably would have fought to the death, but I thought it was telling that he immediately started running because he doesn't care what happens to himself. But if they're alive, he has to go warn the Maximals, and that's an honorable thing to do.
Yeah. So anyway, the Maximals see him. Optimus is like, I'm gonna go rescue him from these Predacons. Cheetor convinces him to let him come too. Tigatron says, all right, I'm gonna go too. But then Rhinox is like, we can't spare any more hands. We need people in here actually manning the ship. And Tigatron sits down. He looks very cowed. He also looks comically very much too big for the chair that he's sitting in. It's like his knees are like pulled all the way up to his chest because the chair is just down so low.
Like when an NBA player tries to sit in a normal sized person's chair.
Yeah. So Cheetor and Optimus, they open up this rack, which I thought was like, oh, they're pulling out the big guns, but it's some shields, which like, oh, okay. It's handy too if you're just trying to like grab somebody and get back out.
Okay, we have to talk about these shields. It's so inexplicable. You've had ballistic shields for everybody on the team this whole time, sitting in a rack in the control room. And this is when you decide.
Yeah, like right next to the door out.
They're right there.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, why didn't the Maximals use it in Chain of Command when all the Predacons attacked them because Optimus was gone? Instead, they just like, all right, I'm just going to run out and hope I can duck for cover behind a rock. Why don't they bring those shields every day?
This is episode 12. Where have these shields been in episodes like 1 and 11? Okay, so that was my first reaction. That having been said, I also remember these sticking out to me when I was a kid because I thought these were very cool ballistic shields.
Yeah.
So when they pulled them out, I was like, damn, those are cool. And then I thought to myself, how come I didn't buy one of the shields? And you couldn't because they weren't official Beast Wars toys then. But now, check this out.
Phil has just sent me a link. Maximal Shield from Beast Wars. SGD. Is that Singapore dollars?
I think so. I couldn't actually put it together.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because nowadays people can 3D print stuff. So the homemade toy accessory community is better than ever. Damn, that is sweet.
Yeah. So you can buy the ballistic shield from this one episode. I don't think they ever make another appearance again, which is silly. And I don't know. I think Apetimus might have something to say.
What was that? Somebody talking about it?
Yes, Apetimus. We really wanted to talk to you about these ballistic shields. Is grabbing one of these ballistic shields an apeshit or bullshit move?
A shield? I don't know. That seems like a lot of wasted effort. Is the shield made of guns?
No, Apetimus. The shield's not made of guns.
Oh, it doesn't break apart into lots of guns, and then you can just shoot them all one by one and keep picking them up and shooting them. And some of them shoot bananas, but the rest shoot lasers.
No, that's not what the shields do. They protect you from danger.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not really my vibe.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess I'm not spending 5 Singapore dollars on this shield then. Well, that's a real flat tire. Andy, back to you.
You know, I just thought of something. Maybe the reason we've never seen the Maximals use these shields before is because they looted them from the Predacon base today.
But managed to put the Maximal logos. Let's just rip off this sticker.
Yeah, they were all fixing the engine, and I don't know, Cheetor was doing his own bullshit, and they're like, oh man, let's give Cheetor the important job of redecorating the Predacon shields. There we go. This will just go a lot faster if we have Cheetor working on something else.
I could just see him there with a bunch of crayons just coloring in the Maximal logos.
So Optimus and Cheetor are out there with those shields, rescuing Dinobot. When Optimus reaches Dinobot and grabs him, classic Dinobot line, "This is strategically unsound."
That got a big laugh from me.
Yeah. And then Cheetor is supposed to be providing Optimus cover fire, But his cover fire does jack shit because Pterosaur somehow manages to get behind Optimus and shoot him in the back. And then you see Cheetor get really angry and shooting wildly, and you think, okay, maybe he's going to get a moment of redemption, and we'll see at least one of those shots hit Pterosaur. But instead, the camera stays focused on Cheetor, and he gets shot by Megatron immediately. Overall, not the best episode for Cheetor.
Yeah, well, he's not used to fighting with his shield. Maybe if he had busted it out in episodes 1 through 11, he might have been able to keep it in front of him as he was shooting wildly.
Yeah, the more you know. But then we see Optimus. He has to transform back into beast mode because he's damaged. And then he clutches his head. The editing makes it look like it's because of the ship taking off. Like maybe the engines are creating an ear-splitting noise. But maybe it was just supposed to be battle damage catching up with him. I really couldn't tell. Did you have a thought of why he was clutching his head?
Yeah, it seems like that would have been the perfect place to put some sort of weird, uncanny, ear-splitting, super transwarp engine starting up for the first time in a very long time sound.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really get one, so maybe ape ears can detect that noise, but it's just out of the range of our human hearing, perhaps.
Do you think Apetimus might know? Is he around? Can you ask him?
Hey, Apetimus. Given your shield rant earlier, you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm feeling all right.
So, can ape ears detect ear-splitting noises that human ears can't?
All right, listen. I've got one ape ear and one robot ear. But yes, both of them are far superior to your ears.
Oh, okay.
Like, how do I put this? Let's say I've got super robo ape ears, and instead of any ears at all, you just have two piles of ape shit on either side of your head.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And is that what makes you clutch your head like that?
Oh, no. I was just remembering that I had a whole cache of bananas secured in a secret off-base location so none of the other Maximals could get into them, and I was realizing, oh shit, I forgot to collect those bananas, and now the ship's taking off. No!
Oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah, that's the exact face you would make if a giant pirate trunk full of bananas that you had stashed somewhere off base were the last thing that you forgot to put on the Axelon.
Yeah, and also I was like, ugh, this fucking guy can't give me any cover fire worth shit. How do you let a bad guy sneak up behind me when you're providing cover fire? Ugh. Listen, there's a reason I'm Apetimus and not Cheetoptimus, okay? That's,
You don't have a high opinion.
I have a very low opinion of that guy right now.
Wait a minute. I thought Cheetamus was the version of Apetimus that takes a lot of antibiotic steroids and then enters the Olympics.
Oh, very close. Cheetoptimus is actually the former quarterback for the New England Patriots. Apetimus out!
Oh, take that. All of our New England Patriots listeners, of which there are probably none.
Well, I mean, certainly none now. Apetimus made sure of that. Shots fired.
Yeah. Is he going to make some jokes about deflated bananas in the next episode?
Hey, you know as well as I do that what Apetimus does cannot be predicted. He's his own man.
I'll tell you what, if I was married to Giselle Bundchen, I would have held on to that. Apetimus, no fool. That was a bullshit move.
Yeah, well, maybe Brady just didn't deserve her, Apetimus. I know you would have treated her right.
I would have, and I also would have been a better NFL commentator than Tom Brady. Think about all the different banana-based graphics they would be able to put up on the screen every time a team scored or something. It would be apeshit.
Nice. You know what else would be apeshit? I bet you would shake the hand of the other team if you ever lost in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's a deep cut. Good job by you.
Oh my god. So Apetimus has opinions on Victoria's Secret supermodel and former wife of Tom Brady, Giselle Bundchen.
Oh, I just realized why Apetimus is so into her. What does her last name sound so much like? Bundchen, bunch of bananas.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's going to be a rude awakening when he finds out that that's not what that's about.
Yeah, but on the other hand, at least he's not objectifying her for her looks the way so many men do.
Okay, so anyway, we were talking about Beast Wars.
Yes, Optimus is, I guess, done clutching his head. Cheetor has crawled back onto the elevator as it's going up. The ship is taking off. Optimus manages to jump up and grab Cheetor's hand, but then Scorponok shoots a missile. And this should be just a part of Beast Wars bingo. Is like, what do weapons do today? This time, the missile doesn't explode or hurt them at all. It just makes them let go of each other's hand, as if you, like, hit their hands with a baseball bat or something.
Okay, so I just officially added it to Beast Wars Bingo. I'm calling it ambiguous weapon power.
Nice.
What's something else we could call it?
Inconsistent weapon power, maybe?
Inconsistent weapon power. Yeah, so like it doesn't explode, but it's just powerful enough to get their hands to stop clasping.
Yeah, it acts like a punch. Like so many weapon shots seem to in this show. So then we see Optimus falling in slow motion. All the sound goes out, and we've just got heartbeat-like rhythm. I found that very tense and well done. And then it zooms back to regular speed, and we see Optimus splat like a pancake in what I have to assume was meant to be a joke, but I don't know why you'd put a joke there in that moment. Because it was so funny to me, but I was like, was this meant to be funny? I was taking this very seriously a second ago, and now I'm not.
Yeah, it really undercut that whole scene right before it.
Yeah. But then they're very sad about leaving Optimus behind. But then I was thinking, presumably, in getting back to Cybertron, they would be able to chart a course back here. And once the ship were repaired, either they could come back and pick Optimus up, or as soon as they got to Cybertron, they could say, like, hey, here's the coordinates of the planet we were on. Go pick up Optimus and arrest Megatron. They just treat it as very final, like, well, there's no way to ever save Optimus again. Or maybe they're thinking, I guess the Predacons are about to kill him in very short order. But no time to grieve, because Megatron has managed to jump aboard the Axelon too. He takes everyone out in rapid succession. Before Rat Trap can transform, Megatron grabs him and says, I shall crush you like a rat in a trap. Listen, all right, Apetimus can't hear me right now, I think. He must have learned zingers the same place Apetimus learned wordplay, because that was some pretty weak sauce.
Like it works in very small kids TV show parlance, but yeah, that was just really weird.
Yeah, it would be like, not exactly like if you said this, but it's as clever as if you said, Megatron, you shall be megad like a Tron.
I shall scare you. You shall be terrorized.
But Rhinox rallies, he takes out Megatron, but while Megatron is being punched and wrestled and flipped over and manhandled, it seems like he just basically drops or lets go of his tail weapon. But he somehow does it in a way that it rockets forward and totally is impaled into the console. So Rhinox has kicked Megatron out of the ship, but now the ship is going out of control because of the way that console is damaged. I think they could have done something better to make it look perhaps like Megatron threw it instead of it just kind of like falling out of his hand. Because it really looked like Megatron was not in a position to throw that thing with much force. Or I don't know, maybe it just has a built-in rocket. We don't know.
I think the way it could have worked is if his arm were coming forward and Rhinox caught it, so his arm stops, but the lance or whatever keeps going, that would have made sense. But you're right that the way they animated it, it didn't make a terrible amount of sense.
So now the Axelon is out of control, but, and they paraphrase a classic Superman riff, look down in the sky. Is it a bird? Maybe a plane? But it has made me think, first, let's just take it specifically in the Beast Wars context. If Dinobot thought it might be a bird, why would that be worth commenting on? And two, Rhinox, why would you think a plane would be around here? I know, of course, it's just because of Superman, but then it made me think, we're just so used to that with Superman. And I guess back in the 30s, seeing a plane in the sky would not have been an everyday occurrence. But I guess seeing a bird in the sky still probably was. Like, it was still like a weird thing, even back in the Superman days, to say, look up in the sky. Is it a bird? No, why would I bother pointing out to you there's a bird in the sky? Dumbass. Hey, it's the 1930s. We're all dumb. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, people didn't get smart until after World War II.
Yeah, for sure. But then Optimus manages to slow the ship's descent. The music that accompanies this is briefly evocative of the John Williams Superman theme. The Axelon, I guess, do we think it just lands in the same exact spot and position as before so that they don't have to redo the usual exterior models?
Yes, which is incredibly silly. While we see the ship going to the ground, we get another clear view of Horseshoe Bend.
Yep.
This time from the top. Like, how many different views of Horseshoe Bend can we get confirming this? It was really sad for me to see the ship crash again. And I wrote in my notes, seeing Optimus grab the entire ship and just gently ease it back to the ground. This is the dick swingingest thing I've seen Optimus do to date in this series.
Yeah, I have to assume that the ship had some degree of its own like lift left, because if Optimus is strong enough to even appreciably slow down a ship all on his own, then like why doesn't he just walk up to the Predacon base and crumple it up like tinfoil? Like if he's that strong.
It is crazy, but it was quite a badass moment for me watching that. I was like, damn, he's the man. He's the bot. That was an apeshit moment.
Yes, for sure. In the aftermath, I did like a brief moment of redemption for Cheetor in this episode. I did really like how he hugged Optimus. I also liked how happy Cheetor was to see Dinobot returning. Before the Predacons show up, Cheetor goes, "Hey, it's Dinobot!" Cheetor gives Optimus a hug. Rhinox confirms that the ship will never fly again. They all agree, presumably, to send those looted shields back to the Predacons or something, so we'll never see them again. And everyone has a laugh at Rat Trap and Dinobot being back to their usual antics. The end.
Quite a momentous episode.
Yeah, although in the end, everything is exactly as it was before. But we do get some insight into Dinobot that we didn't have before.
That is true. It just really made me sad to see the ship get off the ground and then crash again. That is a major downer.
Yeah. Are we on to Beast Wars Bingo?
Yeah, let's do some Beast Wars bingo. As far as hanging precariously, Optimus from the ship.
Yes.
There was no Optimus body horror moment unless you count him clutching his head when that sound was supposed to play.
Or just like totally like splatting on the ground.
Okay, that probably counts. So there were a couple of them alluded to. And now we have ambiguous weapon power. And that was the Scorponok missile, right?
Yeah.
And now let's go on to how many times do you think maximize was said, and how many times do you think terrorize was said?
I'm going to say maximize was 3 times. And I'm going to say terrorize 4 times, because I think we see most of the Predacons one at a time transform as they're chasing Dinobot.
Very good. Terrorize is said 4 times in a row there.
Mm.
But terrorize is said once earlier in the episode.
Oh, okay.
So terrorize is said 5 times. That's still very good. And as far as maximize, it's a little bit of a trick question. I logged 3.5 times. Rat Trap is about to say maximize. And
Oh, yeah.
Megatron grabs him like a rat in a trap.
Despite all his rage, he's still just a rat in a trap. Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Well, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe and share the podcast. Reach out to us at beastwarstalk@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Andy Hunter.
I'm Phil Thomas.
And now we have talked about Beast Wars.